what's up everybody? I'm Zanny Cakes, and in this video we're going to take a look at 30 items that have been reworked or rebalanced in Project Diablo 2. The wiki has information available on hundreds of changes. These were just ones that caught my eye. I think they will be very good and have a place in the meta, or they will be very good for specific niche builds that will be pretty fun to play around with. The Project Diablo 2 open beta was supposed to start yesterday, however it got pushed back until tomorrow, so I've been playing solo self-found hardcore on Path of Diablo. That's what you see in the background. It is not Project Diablo 2 content. As far as the items go, I have split them into categories of unique weapons, unique non-weapons, and Runewords. And with that, let's take a look at the new unique weapons in Project Diablo 2. So the first weapon that we have on the list is the Demon Machine Chuko Nu, and as you can see, they greatly increase the damage on it. It adds a whole lot of attack rating, it's got Pierce, it's got a bunch of defense, mana, and then it's got 5% reanimate as Demon Imp. So this will probably be a very good choice for Boazons until you're able to get something better like Faith or Windforce. However, I think that it will be one of the best in slot weapons for anything that transforms into a wolf or a bear. It's got a -60 base weapon speed, which will allow you to hit your highest increased attack speed breakpoints with some sockets in it. It adds attack rating, it adds defense, it adds a bunch of damage, and the reanimate as an imp is also extremely handy. Next up, we have Executioner's Justice. This item has always been pretty good, however in Project Diablo 2 they increased the damage on it and then they changed it from Decrepify to Amplify damage. In Project Diablo 2, Decrepify does not increase the amount of damage that enemies take, only Amplify damage does. So having that increased damage proc is also very handy. One of the biggest reasons I have this weapon on the list is you will be able to slam ethereal items. And so if you are able to get 6 sockets on one of these that's ethereal, then you'll have an extremely good weapon for anything that's physical based using a two-hander. The Grandfather is one of my favorite items on this list. It has always had a huge presence in the Diablo world, and the last 10 years or so, it's been pretty much next to useless. It's a good novelty item to find, but it's also kind of disappointing. However, with the change of removing the indestructible mod, but replacing it with repairs durability, means that you can actually find the Grandfather ethereal. Combining that with the ability to slam ethereal items, you could have a ethereal 6-socketed Grandfather that you don't have to put a Zod rune in because it actually repairs durability. And with some good slams and Larzik's puzzle box, there's a whole lot of really good options for the Grandfather, and I'm excited to see how it performs at endgame levels. Mangsong Lesson is an extremely rare item. It's another one of those items like a Grandfather or Tyrael's Might that you just really are only looking for if you're doing like a Holy Grail. It's never really been all that useful, as there's much better options for casters with a one-hander and a shield. However, they bumped it up to be 6 to all skills, bumped up the faster cast rate, and bumped up the mana regeneration. And then the ability to get 6 sockets on it for facets will make this an extremely good caster weapon, specifically casters that do multiple elemental damage types. Here we have Schaefer's Hammer, and on this weapon they increase the damage, increase the attack speed. The lightning resist is kind of nerfed as it now has a range, but that's okay. And then again, they changed it from being indestructible to repair durability, so you can actually spawn it ethereal. I think that this will be one of the best in slot weapons for something like a Tesla Din, as it has the chance to cast static field on striking, so you'll be able to break lightning immunities with it, and with being able to have it ethereal, it has a higher damage potential than it has ever had before. The Steel Pillar will probably be one of the best in slot barbarian weapons that use Whirlwind. as the mechanics for Whirlwind are that of the Diablo 2 Classic, where it does a certain amount of hits in a certain amount of time frame, so you don't have to worry about increased attack speed at all. So your big beefy two-handers are where it's at for Whirlwind. And again, they made it to where it repairs durability, so you can get it ethereal. And then it also has the -6 to -12% enemy physical resistance. So anything that has physical resistance, you will just straight up get a 6 to 12% bonus to your damage against those targets. The Widowmaker can turn anybody into a Boazon. So they increase the damage to where it's actually halfway decent if you have a high damage roll. I don't know why they didn't up the minimum damage roll on it, as the 200% range is pretty huge. But if you get a good damage roll, it's got ignore target defense, deadly strike, gives you guided arrow, and now also gives you multi-shot. If any of you have played the multi-shot sorceress or necromancer from Path of Diablo, this will be your new Doomslinger. It has significantly better damage and then also has deadly strike and gives you guided arrow, and will be overall a very good weapon for some of the off-the-wall builds like Enchant Bow Sorks or Bow Paladins. Atma's Whale has never been a very good armor. It's not a bad armor, but it just has never been very useful to anyone other than if you're just starting out. It does have some pretty good stats on it. However, they added 1 to all skills and 20% faster cast rate. That makes the good stats on the base version of it even better. The bonus to magic find, maximum mana, dexterity, and faster hit recovery, and large amount of defense makes this overall a very good all-around armor for any caster and really any class. Corpseborn is an armor that I'm really excited about. It gives Corpse Explosion as an O skill, so any class can use Corpse Explosion. It's got the 15% reanimate as returned, which is absolutely amazing, minus requirements, so it doesn't take 170 strength to hold it. And then other than that, it's got good defense, cold resistance, and stats. Overall, I think there will be some very interesting builds that go along with this armor, and I'm interested to see how they play out. Crown of the Ages has always been a fairly decent armor. It is not that great in Path of Diablo, as you can't slam it because it has sockets. However, being able to slam socketed items and the 75% reduced curse duration will likely make this helmet a very good endgame piece of equipment. And it's got a whole bunch of other good stats on it. It comes with sockets, faster hit recovery, resistances, damage reduction, and will all around just be a very good helmet to have. The Ghoulhide Heavy Bracers are similar to Laying on Hands, however they increase your damage against undead as opposed to demons. Adding the 20 to 40 life and 20% increased attack speed make these gloves absolutely amazing and very switchable for Lay on Hands. When it comes to the Barbarian-only helmets, the only ones that have really ever had a part in the meta is Ariat's Face or Wolfhowl. However, with the rework of Halberd's Reign, we've got a lot of replenished life. We have more plus to masteries, we got more battle command, more battle orders, and then a huge amount of attack rating and physical damage reduction. I think that this helmet is all around going to be very good, and the physical damage reduction and attack rating will likely make it a superior choice to things like Ariat's Face if you're not in dire need of resistances. Lidless Wall has always been a very solid caster shield with the plus to skills, faster cast rate, max mana, and mana per kill. They increased the roll on plus to all skills from 1 to now you can possibly get 2 to plus skills on it. They also have the ability to get an extra plus to skills with a slam. They increased the mana after each kill, and overall with the Spirit Runeword being nerfed to only have 1 to skills, I think that this shield will be solidly in the meta for endgame caster shields, especially if you slam +1 to skills on it. Medusa's Gaze has always been pretty useless on vanilla Diablo 2. That's not anything game-breaking on it, has a huge strength requirement. It is a heavy shield, so it slows down your run speed, and overall people just don't have much use for it on vanilla. And with them adding the 1 to 2 to cold skills, -50 requirements, and up to 40% faster cast rate, I think that the Medusa's Gaze will be used very frequently between cold sorceresses and Act 3 cold mercenaries. Overall, there are some very good changes, and I think that we'll see a lot more use on Medusa's Gaze in Project Diablo 2. The Metal Grid Amulet has always been pretty good for Ubers and declone builds. However, it looks as though they are changing it to be more of a Thorns style build item. They made it to where Iron Golem is an O skill, so any class will be able to cast Iron Golem. It will benefit from plus to skills. And then they did remove the defense on it and replaced it with a large amount of Thorns damage. So I think that this amulet will be very common in Thorns builds, and I'm excited to see how that works going forward with Project Diablo 2. Nosferatu's Coil has always been pretty good, however it's never been truly endgame. I think that the change to mercenaries being able to use belts will make this one of the best in slot belts. It has Life Leech, 20% increased attack speed, and Deadly Strike. It will also be a very good option on physical damage builds, and specifically ones that benefit from attack rating. The Deadly Strike is also very beneficial, and overall I think that's a very good belt, and we will see a lot of use of it. Sarrakin's Chance has always been fairly disappointing when you identify it. You always are hoping for something better when you find a unique amulet. The adding 30 to 50% enhanced damage, I think, will make this a very good choice for a lot of different builds. The all res, all attributes, and enhanced damage will synergize to make an all-around very good amulet for anything that does physical damage. Soul Drainers have always been fairly decent, however now they're much better. You've got Dual Leech, a huge amount of Thorns, faster hit recovery, and now has a chance to pierce. They also bumped up the -2 monster defense on hit from 50 to 200, making that a significantly better stat than it already was. And between Dual Leech, faster hit recovery, and -2 enemy defense, it will be a staple for a lot of melee builds, and overall I think will be a very good glove to have. Templar's Might is another one of those items that have always been pretty disappointing. Every time you pick up a unique sacred armor, you're really hoping for Tyrael's Might, and that is very rarely the case. However, in Project Diablo 2, we will see a lot more use of this item. They increase the amount of strength and vitality it adds. It's got faster hit recovery, a good amount of defense, and now it will also add +1 to all skills and 4 to 8 to might. So I think that there will be a lot of room for this on physical characters as well as on mercenaries, and overall it's going to be a pretty good armor to find, and I believe that will be quite commonly used at endgame. Two-throw armor is pretty lackluster. It's more of a mid-game item. However, in Project Diablo 2, it's got a huge amount of Thorns damage and a very good chunk of Deadly Strike. Also with the ability to slam plus to skills or indestructible with enhanced damage, as well as getting sockets on it, will make this a very viable option for anything that benefits from Deadly Strike, as well as it will be a good choice to use for Thorns builds. Wisp Projector will be a very sought out item. It's got Lightning Absorb, Magic Find, gives you Spirit of Barbs and Heart of the Wolverine as O skills, so you'll be able to summon them whenever you want to. They benefit from plus to skills. And then the ring itself also adds +1 to all skills. This is one of the best in slot items in Path of Diablo. However, I think it will be even better in Project Diablo 2. One of the biggest benefits from the Path of Diablo version is the Lifted Spirits aura and the Heart of the Wolverine. You don't get the Lifted Spirits aura, however, you don't have to sacrifice one to skills, and now you'll have both Spirit of the Barb and Heart of the Wolverine. Overall, I think Wisp Projector will be best in slot for a lot of different physical damage builds. Beast has always been a linchpin to several non-meta builds. It's a very fun item to use, and with the ability to use Maul and Hunger, I think that it will make the non-meta builds like Bear Sorceress or Bear Paladins much better. Instead of just using your regular auto attack, you will actually be able to use Maul and Hunger. Maul gives you a huge damage boost as well as a chance to stun, and then Hunger gives you a huge amount of life and mana leech. Overall, I think that this will inspire new builds that will be much stronger than any bear builds we've seen in the past using Beast. Brand has always been one of my favorite underrated runewords. I am excited to see that they bumped up the Bone Spear as well as have a Bone Spear fire additional arrows. One of my favorite brand builds in the past has been a Necromancer that uses Beast to turn into bear form, and then you use the brand runeword as your primary weapon, so you proc Bone Spear on every single attack. You can put it in a Chuko New or Demon Crossbow that have a negative 60 weapon speed, so you can hit very fast attack speed breakpoints. And with the higher level Bone Spear and Bone Spear firing additional arrows, I think that that will be a very solid build. And overall, I'm very excited to see different builds that are built around the brand runeword. Crescent Moon will be a very good runeword in Project Diablo 2. You can make it in axes, swords, polearms, and spears, meaning that you can put it on an Act 2 mercenary or Act 5 mercenary. It's the only change that they made was that it has a chance to cast level 27 Chain Lightning on striking. However, the biggest reason why Crescent Moon will be a very good option is that the highest rune in it is an rune, and Static Field will break lightning immunities. So this is a replacement to Infinity. It also gives you Ignore Target Defense, Open Wounds, Magic Absorb, and overall is just a very good weapon. And having the ability to break lightning immunities will make it extremely valuable. Eternity has never really had a place in the meta. It's not a bad weapon, but for the cost, it's just not as good as other options. However, adding the 10% animate as returned and +3 to revive will make this weapon the melee version of a faith bow, and I'm pretty excited to see how it ends up working out. I also like that it's got the indestructible mod on it, so you can make it in ethereal weapons, and overall I think we will see a lot of use in this in several different builds. The Ice Runeword has always been a really good bow, however it's never had much of a place in the meta as it seems to pale in comparison to things like Faith, and Ice Boazons tend to be lackluster compared to multi-shot Immolation Arrow Boazons, and overall the only change that they made is the 20% chance to cast level 32 Frost Nova. However, the biggest reason why the Ice Runeword will be so much better than it has been in Vanilla or Path of Diablo is with the improvements to the Act 1 Mercenaries. If you put this on an Act 1 Cold Mercenary, it will synergize their damage. It's got plus to cold skill damage, minus to enemy cold resistance. It's got Life Leech, it's got Deadly Strike, increased attack speed, and it's got the level 18 Holy Freeze aura, overall making pretty much every single stat on this bow extremely good for the Act 1 Cold Mercenary, and will be probably widely used for different casters. Kingslayer has always been a very solid runeword for the cost. It's got increased attack speed, good damage, minus target defense, bonus to attack rating, crushing blow, open wounds, prevent monster heal, and add some strength. They changed the Vengeance to be +10 instead of +1, That's not why it's on the list. The reason it's on the list is because it will repair 1 durability in 10 seconds, meaning that you can make it in ethereal bases, and that makes it that much more valuable and will carry you that much further into endgame until you can get something better. Lionheart has always been a fairly decent armor for when you're first starting out. You can usually make it by the time that you get to Act 5 Nightmare, but it never really carried you that far into Hell mode. It was very easily replaced with things like Fortitude or Shaft Stop, and overall I think that the buff to the enhanced damage going up to 80 to 110% enhanced damage will make this much more usable longer into the end game. It's also got minus requirements, so you can use it in a fairly heavy armor, or you can simply save the stats that you need to put into strength to hold it. That adds to all of the stats, adds a good amount of life, and then has 20 to 30 resistances. Overall, I think this is a very solid armor and will carry you much further into the end game than it previously has before. Prudence has always been a fairly average rune word. It's relatively cheap to make. The highest rune in it is a Mal rune. And with the changes to add faster cast rate, I think that it will be a very good mid to late game armor for casters. It's got faster hit recovery, all resistances, big numbers on the damage reduced and magic damage reduced, 2 to mana after kill, 20% faster cast rate, and then repairs durability, so you can use it in an ethereal armor. Overall, I think that this will be a very good mid to late game armor and very well worth making. Stone has always been one of my favorite rune words for body armors. It's very underused other than on mercenaries. It can give you a huge amount of defense on your armor itself, but they added in indestructible, so you can use it on a character and it still be ethereal. It adds resistances, and then now it will also add +1 to skills. I think that this will all around be a very good armor for any class that is looking to boost their survivability, and I think that it will have a very good place for both melee builds and caster builds. So there you have it, guys. 30 items that have been rebalanced or reworked in Project Diablo 2. There are tons of items that did not make it onto this list. Let me know down in the comments below what items you're excited about. And as always, good luck, have fun, and I hope to see you out there.